A war monitoring group says that the Syrian army has made its first advance against militants in the south of the country. According to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, government forces have liberated 2 villages in the eastern part of Daraa province. The monitor says that clashes are ongoing in militant-held territory east of Daraa and west of the neighboring Soweto province. The Syrian army has also confirmed that it's engaged in fierce clashes with terrorists in the region. Daraa province lies next to the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights. Liberating the region along with northeastern Idlib province will free the country of all militants. Political commentator and analyst Jason Unruhe joins us now from Ontario. Mr. Unruhe, welcome to the program. Give us your thoughts on the recent major advances that are starting by the Syrian army in the south of Syria.
Well, I think this is a very significant moment because it shows 2 distinct aspects of the situation. Firstly, despite the denial by some countries and some forces in the world, the U.S. is backing these forces. And now that the U.S. is no longer backing them, they are now beginning to lose. I mean, it's very obvious that the U.S. was backing these forces, but there were still people holding out in denial of this. And now that we see, all of a sudden, they start losing now that they no longer have U.S. support. It's very clear what was going on. And I think that another very serious aspect of this is the fact that this region where these battles are taking place are right next to, like they're on the border with the Golan Heights. Now, this is significant because that's where Israeli forces are giving emergency medical services to fighters who have been wounded in fighting the Syrian government. That particular corridor is where a lot of the aid that Israel gives to these forces is situated. This is like their main hub for distribution of aid and medical services to injured fighters. If this gets cut off, then they're left in a very difficult situation where much of their supplies are going to be lost. And this is definitely going to frustrate the efforts of Israel to interfere in the Syrian conflict. So we not only have the U.S. pulling out and allowing these forces to start losing, and they're shifting their attention elsewhere, particularly the Kurdish regions, and now that they've lost the country, but will still attempt to balkanize the area. But now the Israelis are going to become frustrated as a result of their loss of their ability to immediately impact the ongoing conflict, which means we might see Israel carrying out some kind of retaliatory measure as a result of this, if there can be a direct cut between Israel and the Takfiri forces inside the country. And I think that's a major issue that will still be decided. How is Israel going to retaliate against this?
So that is a major issue. As you mentioned, it's usually at this point when the Syrian army is making major advances that either the Israelis or at some points, as we've seen in the past, the U.S. itself steps in and makes and gives some sort of a response with regards to what's taking place on the ground.
Yes, definitely. When there is a big advance like this, Israel will come in and they'll bomb something in complete violation of the law, just complete disregard for the way that conduct is supposed to be carried out, with a disregard to human rights, etc. And this is also one of the time when the United States and many of its proxy forces, including the White Helmets, which the U.S. has also begun funding once again, make allegations of chemical weapon attacks. Chlorine gas attack. And this has been a repeated pattern. As soon as the Syrian government makes any kind of significant advance, all of a sudden the White Helmets have a propaganda op where they fake rescue civilians, or as they have been in the past, faked chemical attacks against the population, ones that go completely unverified with no evidence whatsoever, as we see with the current case that is before the OPCW right now. So I think not only can we see some kind of retaliation from Israel for this, most likely in the form of some kind of airstrikes, but possibly something, the U.S. justifying some kind of action against the government sometime soon.
Jason Unruhe, political commentator and analyst, joining us from Ontario. Thank you very much for your comments.